find her.
It's not as if we can drop everything and fly to Peru.
To inflate your life, Jackie.
I didn't mean now, Paddington.
Welcome to Peru.
Your aunt seems to have set off into the dangerous jungle.
Aunt Lucy would never give up on me. We have to find her.
But the Amazon is quite... large.
Hey howdy hey Marmalade lovers, Wolfman47 here to give you a review of the Paddington films. But before that, a bit of history for you. So you probably by now are familiar with a lot of different British films based on British characters, franchises and so forth, or specifically the films that are basically adaptations from a book series. So some of the biggest ones you'll no doubt know of is Harry Potter, which of course is basically wizards and witches in the UK fighting evil, yada yada yada. You get the idea of that. James Bond, which is pretty much spy, espionage, whatever you want to call it. It's taken a silly turn to begin with, but became more serious thanks to a certain parody film or series of parody films, I should say. And then there's all the films based on Roald Dahl stories, because Roald Dahl he's a genius, or was a genius. And then you got these other ones as well that have either had a big screen or small screen appearance from various other authors such as Terry Pratchett and J.R.R. Tolkien and many others. So today we're going to talk about Paddington. Now, I don't know too much about the children's stories other than it's basically about a bear that finds himself in London, gets adopted by this family, and they go on various adventures. Now, I know some of you will probably not be too familiar with Paddington more so than the other ones I mentioned, but this is because Paddington has been around for a little while now, and he's very much well known here in the UK, thanks in part to the children's books and the various TV shows that we've had over the years. And the first time I actually heard about Paddington was actually through a stage play that I saw with my grandparents and my cousins many years ago. And since then, I didn't really hear much about Paddington apart from a few TV stories. And then came the very first film, which I didn't go see at the cinema because I actually thought it wasn't going to be a good film. But as it turns out, it actually ended up being one of the very few films that on Rotten Tomatoes has scored 100%, and not based on just one or two reviews. No, actually based on several reviews. So it's received the perfect 100%. So with the new film that's come out, I decided why not talk about all of them. So let's do that. So starting off with the first film, a bear that is given the name Paddington, voiced by Ben Whishaw, I hope I pronounced his name correctly, the guy that plays Q in the Daniel Craig James Bond films, in case you're wondering who I'm talking about. Travels to London and ends up at Paddington Station. The Brown family come across this bear, and although some people, particularly Hugh Bonneville's character, Mr. Brown, has strong observations, the children and Mrs. Brown are quickly won over by him, and they decide to adopt him. This then leads to a series of shenanigans in which the Brown family are at odds about whether they want to keep Paddington or not, but it then becomes clear that there's this woman played by Nicole Kidman, fantastic actress in anything I see her in, who is trying to sort of get all the heads of all these different animals, and it turns out that Paddington is the last of his kind that she needs to. Is not the last of his kind, but rather the last species she needs to put on the wall. And so things happen, and yeah. The story itself is a bit formulaic because it's pretty much about a bear that wants to be accepted and loved, with this family that are sort of conflicted about whether they want to keep him or have him taken away eventually. But things happen, and obviously, as you'll see in the film, they are quickly won over by him and do what they can to help him, and yada yada yada. I can say that because the film has been out for over 10 years now, the first one that is, so I am allowed to say that. So yeah, I think the first one is a really good film, despite the formulaic story and so forth. It's pretty good. It's got some great British cut icons in there, including Peter Capaldi, Matt Lucas, and a few others. And it's really good, and it's a good fun kind of film, and I really like it. And I'm quite surprised that I was able to enjoy it as much as I did, because I thought I wouldn't enjoy it, but yeah, I did. And it's pretty much a perfect family film, and something to stick on at Christmas or pretty much any time of the year, to be honest. And it definitely helped rise Paddington's status from a sort of mini kind of British icon to a much popular British icon. Probably not as popular still as, say, the films I mentioned earlier, but definitely a much more popular icon than he would have been many years ago when I saw the stage play. So for the first film, I'm going to give it 5 stars because I don't have anything wrong with it, and I know that maybe people will have issues with the formulaic kind of story, but I don't, which is me. So yeah. So then we come to the second film. So in the second film, Aunt Lucy is planning to visit London to meet Paddington, and Paddington gets things ready to be able to meet her and give her a warm welcome and everything. But then this villain played by Hugh Grant, and believe it or not, this is actually the first time I've actually seen Hugh Grant in anything for a very long time, and I was actually surprised with how good he was in this film. He's trying to find this treasure, and somehow he frames Paddington for a crime he did, and Paddington ends up being in this prison with Brendan Gleeson and other actors slash who plays these characters, and yeah, he spends a lot of time in this film in jail while the Brown family work to try and free him, and then it all kind of ends up being on this big kind of epic kind of sort of train sequence in which they're trying to stop Hugh Grant, but Hugh Grant's doing stuff, and yeah, it is what it is. In terms of how the sequel is, I did get a little bit emotional with the sequel, particularly towards the end when there was this moment where it looked like Paddington was not going to make it, but then turns out he does make it in the end. Again, I can say that because the film has been out for a little while, not as long as the first film, but has been out for quite a while. And I enjoyed it just as much as the first one. I think there's nothing too wrong with it. Again, it has a bit of a formulaic story, but Paul King, I think that's his name, has done pretty well these first 2 films. It's kind of made his mark, saying that he tries to make a film as perfect as he possibly can, with some sort of thing going on, and all his films are entertaining, charming, and don't spend too long. And the character of Paddington actually looks very realistic and not too much like Sonic from the original trailer for the first Sonic film. We won't talk about that. So yeah. So Paddington 2 also gets 5 stars because I've got no issue with it apart from maybe a couple of issues with the formulaic story, but they're very minor, and also the fact that Hugh Grant is in this film. And I'll say this now, at the time, I wasn't that keen on Hugh Grant after hearing a lot of interviews where he's saying that he doesn't really like acting, it's just a phase, and he's going to try and get out of it at some point, and apparently he's quite grumpy in real life. But having seen him in more films nowadays, I actually think he's a much better actor than he was back when he first started. He's definitely taken on a lot more dramatic roles. And although this film you could say he's not really being dramatic, he is kind of dramatic if you know what kind of character he's playing. So yeah, I'll give it that. So now we come to the third film, and I actually do have the cinema cut for this one. So there you go. It's the cinema I went to actually do have some merchandise things. I do like it when films have merchandise you can buy from the cinema, and they also have marmalade flavoured popcorn, which was interesting. Nice flavour to them for sure. But anyway, so the third one is not called Paddington 3. It's actually called Paddington in Peru, which usually to me means that the film may not be as good, because usually when you get too used to a film franchise that has no numbers or numbers and not really a subtitle, and then you get a film that has a subtitle, it does kind of make me worried. And I will say that while this third film is not quite as good as the other two, it's still very much entertaining and fun. So let's talk about that one as well. So Aunt Lucy is revealed to be missing, and Paddington and the Brown family, now without Sally Hawkins, a completely different actress this time, I forget the name, decide to go on a holiday to Peru in an attempt to find Aunt Lucy. They team themselves up with this Antonio Banderas played character who happens to be this sort of ancestor of to be the sort of ancestors has these ancestors that are basically trying to hunt for gold, but ultimately never quite get the gold because they end up dying or something like that. So they go about and do just that. And then, meanwhile, there's this nun played by Olivia Colman, who, dramatic and wicked and over the top as she always is, and God bless her for that. She plays this nun, and yeah, this film is kind of making out that there's a bit more obvious that that there's this one person that's a villain and this other person that's a villain. It's kind of making them very, very obvious quite early on, but they kind of try and make out that it's no big deal. They just happen to do that. And then there's like these moments where it feels like Indiana Jones, because you got a rolling boulder sequence and you got all these other different sequences that happen. It's basically a better Indiana Jones / Jungle Cruise film than the actual Indiana Jones and Jungle Cruise films, in my honest opinion. Although I felt when I saw Jungle Cruise, it was actually an okay film, not a perfect film, but it was an okay film from Disney. So yeah, and Indiana Jones on the other hand, yeah, could work on a bit better. But anyway, enough about those. So Paddington in Peru, while not a perfect sequel to the otherwise perfect Paddington film franchise, it's still good, it's still entertaining, and it's still fun. And you get Olivia Colman playing a very entertaining character. You get Antonio Banderas playing a very entertaining character. The Brown family are still as entertaining as ever. Even the new person playing Mrs. Brown, she's entertaining as ever. She's no Sally Hawkins, but she's definitely entertaining for sure. So yeah, I think the few issues I do have with Paddington 3 or Peru, whatever you want to call it, is that it can be a little bit formulaic again. And when you get too used to the formula of a franchise, you kind of decide, do you want to continue watching it or not? And I decided that I would continue watching it, because even though it's not as good as the other two films, there is still a lot to like about it. Because it's not reached 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's still up in the 90s area, so that's fine. And I gotta admit, when I actually saw this film, I kind of even though I know he's a much younger actor than me, I kind of sort of fancied the son of the Brown family, because I'm not gonna lie, seeing him in this film, he's kind of cute. I don't know why it is. He's just very cute in this film. And then also Haley Atwell's in this as well, playing this American character who she's gorgeous. Anything I see her in, I think she's probably one of the best things. She's always got that smile, and she's so gorgeous looking and everything. And I know that she recently did the voice for Lara Croft in this Netflix anime from Tomb Raider, which I've not seen, by the way. And people are saying that she should be the next Lara Croft, and I actually kind of think, yeah, she could play the next Lara Croft, because Marvel are pretty much done with her, so she can do whatever she likes now. And yeah, she is definitely up there as being among those many actresses I do quite like and fancy, and want to rip their clothes off and everything. So yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of actors and actresses, because I do like men and women. For those who don't know, I just want to just do stuff to them, but obviously all fantasy, not actually going to do it. It's just my imagination can run a bit wild at times. So yeah, but anyway, so Paddington in Peru, I'm going to give 4 stars, because even though it's not quite as good as the other two films, it's still a pretty good film, very entertaining, and all that other stuff. And that's your lot for this time. So I don't know what I'm going to be watching next. Hopefully the new Lego film Piece by Piece, but we'll see when, depending on time and everything. So yeah, but otherwise, Thanks so much for watching. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos. I upload videos at various times daily in the BST/GMT time zone. So vlogs like this when I'm doing film reviews, talking about things pop culture, talking about life in general, and doing hauls. I also do straight up gameplay videos where it's, as I say, straight up gameplay without any commentary or camera on or anything. It's just gameplay and that's it, with some memes and some editing here and there. And I also do Let's Plays where it's commentary, camera on sometimes, depending on the game. And I also do a lot of shorts celebrating anniversaries of films and so forth that have been released that I like, and also celebrity birthdays of people that I like. And usually, because some of the people are quite good looking, I tend to go for the more ones that where they show off a bit of flesh. But yeah, always trying to maintain the sort of YouTube guidelines, not trying to break them or anything. So yeah. And I do occasional polls that are usually to help the channel, but sometimes I also do polls that are not about helping the channel, they're about general stuff as well. So yeah. And if you like the video, hit the like button. If you want to share with your pals, do so. If you want to leave a comment, do so. See you in the next one. Peace to you all. And I should stress now that even though there has been a lot of political talk lately, particularly around the new president of the United States, I just want to be very clear right now. My channel will hardly ever feature any political stuff in it, because I have zero interest in politics. It's not really something I'm all that into. And anyone that says that these things are outdated or anything, I'm just like, it's a video. It's gonna get dated eventually. Get over it. So yeah. And I'm also very much against woke stuff as well. So don't even think about commenting on my videos thinking that you can get away with woke stuff, because I don't really care about woke either. I will see things that are considered woke, but my opinion will just be based on the thing itself, not based on how people feel it's too woke or whatever. So if you're going to tell me that Star Wars is too woke, I'm not going to care, because I'll just judge the thing for what it is. I'm not going to judge it based on wokeness or anything. Enough. So those aside, back to Paddington. Do eat marmalade sandwiches. They are really nice and tasty. And don't leave marmalade sandwiches all over the place, particularly during that time when the Queen passed away. I remember lots of people put marmalade sandwiches out. So yeah, just don't do that. So yeah, and that's all I'm going to say now. So toodles.
Marmalade.